Hi, Just Avocados growers. We're here to help you ensure best quality fruit by going through a roll test practice, which is done following rainfall on your orchard. This is to make sure we are simulating picking and harvesting conditions and ensuring that we have less damage on the lenticels or bruising on the fruit. So what happens is every time you have rainfall or heavy rainfall preceding harvest, all these cells that you see actually absorb water and start to swell up like a balloon. So the more water you've had or the more rainfall you've had preceding harvest, the more those cells swell up, which then is increasing the turgidity of the fruit and the susceptibility to bruising. So any abrasions or handling will cause those cells to bruise and burst, which is those telltale lenticel damage that you see, which will kick your fruit out from export or first grade into reject or third grade fruit, which you want to avoid. So this piece of fruit looks perfectly fine. We've had quite a bit of rain preceding harvest. It's a lovely day today. The fruit is dry, but how much has this fruit respired so that the cells shrink down and they're no longer susceptible to damage? We've got a fantastic decision matrix to help you follow that process.
If there's been an extended period of rainfall, particularly in the early part of the season where you've got saturated soils, it's really important to look beyond the industry standard rules of 5 mils in the last 24 hours. We would strongly urge you to look at your rainfall over the last 4 to 5 days before you've picked. And if you've had more than 20 mils through that period, then you should definitely consider doing a roll test. You can step through the process. It's relatively easy to follow, but essentially we're not saying don't pick, we're just saying that you should consider doing a roll test, have a look at those results and get an understanding of how your fruit's going to travel through that process. When we looked last year at the data in terms of the early season packouts, on average about 14.3% of the total marketable fruit basically had some sort of damage that was related to harvest. For most growers, that represents somewhere between $700 and $1,000 a hectare on average. So there's a significant opportunity for you to be able to capture more value by following this process.
So in order to do a roll test, you want to sample from trees that is going to be representative of the block that you're going to be harvesting. So go out onto those trees, mark the trees so that if you need to come back and retest, that you know where you've actually initially tested from so that you can retest those trees and know what your drying conditions have been on the orchard. So go out, sample the trees. I often go to my sample trees that I'll use for leaf or soil sampling. And then what you'll want to do is sample, as you sample your trees, make sure you're actually going from all sides of the tree, all compass points on those specific trees you've decided to do your sample fruit from, so that you're getting north, south, east, west. If you've had a prevailing rainfall from a certain direction, that fruit is going to sample differently and your results will be different. So the more you can have a random sampling, the better it's going to be. So you're going to need at least 5 fruit from your sample block. You're going to take a crate, and we've come up with this method which is going to simulate more accurately the actual handling, bin tipping and post-harvest process of the fruit through the pack line. So what you want to do, make sure you clip that fruit to the industry 5 mils, place it in the crate, and you're going to seesaw the crate gently from left to right and right to left 10 times, repeating that process 10 times. You'll then wait and you'll come back to that fruit over 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then again half an hour, because your bruising, just like on a human, will actually show itself later on. So you'll want to come back and test your fruit with your magnifying glass. Have a look and see if you can see any bruising or rupture on the actual lenticel. And if you take a $2 coin and you collectively all those little damaged cells can fill a $2 coin, then definitely stop and you'll come back once you've had better drying conditions on your orchard and go back and resample at those exact sites. The drying time on your orchard is going to vary between different orchards, and it's good to get to understand that. What you're wanting is that the fruit cells shrink back to a normal size so that it's no longer under turgor pressure where it's easily damaged, blemished, or bruised, or the cells can rupture. And that drying time or dehydration time is going to depend on air movement through your orchard. How open is your canopy? How pruned is your shelter belt? Do you have really good air movement? Has it been a windy day or preceding your roll test? Has it been nice and sunny? Or is it closed in orchards where your drying time is going to be a lot longer? Soil conditions are also going to play a part. So remember, it's not fruit that's dry to the touch, but you need to leave enough time for the cells to actually respire, lose water, and shrink back so that they're no longer susceptible to that bumping and bruising and damaged lenticels.
So I've come back 10 minutes later, and you'll notice if the fruit is really wet, you'll see the damage straight away. If you're not seeing a whole lot of damage, you can come back half an hour or maybe an hour later and just double check. As time goes on, the bruising will come out further and you'll be able to make your decision. This fruit here, as you can see, is quite bad. The bruising is very obvious, so you'd make the call not to pick.